So it's been 2 years since the team at Oval Renewables came and installed our solar panel system, and the battery and the inverter and everything to do with that. So I thought now's probably a good time to take you guys through the system, how it's performed, any lessons learned, what we've thought, would we do it again, and yeah, I've had a bit of a quiet period with social media, and probably over a year since the last video, and I think the last video was actually to do with this as well, in winter. So feel free to go back and kind of watch the journey from the start, but in this video, 2 years, and I want to take you through our experiences with the solar PV system and home battery. So first of all, what did we have installed 2 years ago? So starting with the panels, so on our south facing roof, which is above where we are at the moment, we had 8 400 watt Perlight solar panels, all black, as you can see, because I was quite keen on aesthetics and making sure that yes, we're adding them still, yes, they might ruin the look of a house if you like, but they looked the best that we could possibly get. So 8 on the south roof. On our west facing roof, which you should be able to see now, we had 12 400 watt all black panels as well. That gave a full system size of an 8 kilowatt peak system. Now, to manage all that, we had a 5 kilowatt inverter installed, Solaredge, because I wanted the safety element of Solaredge, I wanted the warranties that came with that, and I wanted a fully integrated system. To accompany the inverter, we went for the 10 kilowatt, or I think it's a 9.7 kilowatt usable Solaredge battery, and then we also had installed post kind of the initial installation a hot water energy diverter, which uses our immersion heater on the hot water boiler to heat our hot water. So 5 kilowatt inverter. We got approvals to export the maximum amount as well from the DNO, or Northern Power Grid, for where we are, so we can export up to 5 kilowatts of power at any one time. So with this video, I want to take you through kind of probably what you all want to know is it worthwhile, is there a payback with it, and how has it performed. Now, over the 2 years that we've had this installed, so it was installed in August 2022, 2022 into 2023 was very different to how we operate it now, if you like. So we've had a major change with sort of the tariffs and how energy is used. So my figures, I have done it for the period of August 23 through to August 24, because that's the most sort of realistic time frame, and it gives us a full vision of all the seasons, if you like, so autumn, winter, spring and summer. And I can detail that later in the video when we go through the figures. Now, our situation now, as I've said, we're very different to when we first had the system installed, and we had a hot water diverter. Although it doesn't divert physically water, it diverts the energy so that it powers the immersion heater. Now, if I were going to go back and do this again, I probably wouldn't bother with that. Although we do use it, it's cheaper for us, including the car, to charge the car overnight and to charge the house battery overnight. And our tariff is an Octopus Intelligent tariff, so that means we pay 7.5p per kilowatt to buy in energy at a certain period of time. So I think it's about 11 o'clock till 5 a.m. So during that time, I charge the car, I heat our hot water, and I charge the house battery. So come 5 o'clock in the morning, the battery's full. Now, with that energy full or available for use, the house starts using that post 5 a.m. Until the sun rises and the solar panels take over. So with that, we also have an export rate which is 15p a kilowatt, double what we buy it in at. So my goal now is to store as much of the energy, use as much of the solar panels as possible, and just get the power exporting back to the grid for people who haven't got solar panels, say, to use it and support the grid in that way. So for us, for everything we buy in at 7.5p, we can sell back then at 15p. And how the figures work is, you know, over the year, your export is offsetting the import quite dramatically. Whereas when we first had the system installed, it was all about kind of using the energy produced. I was only exporting at 4 kilowatts, so it was cheaper to keep all the energy rather than give it back to the grid. But nowadays things have changed. I'm amazed at how in 2 years everything has changed, and we live in a very different sort of, if you like, energy situation. And that it has meant the hot water diverter was probably not a good purchase, and a bit of a lessons learned. Now that cost, I want to say about £800 fitted, and I use it now more of a nicety. We've got it means we're not using as much gas. Our reliance on gas is the one thing that, you know, I'm happy to get rid of. So yes, we use it. Do we need it? Probably not. Would I recommend people to have it? Probably not. So it is what it is, and it's just how things have changed and a bit of a lessons learned for us in our situation. Now, while we're on the subject of things I would and wouldn't recommend, so a few lessons learned really from our experience over the last 2 years. Now, the big one for me, and something I want to do but it's not really financially viable to do, is match the inverter size to the panel peak size. So now, this won't be specific to everybody, but we tend to peak our production around 2 p.m, where the south facing panels and the west facing panels are both producing. So it's giving us circa 7 and 8 kilowatts. Now, because we only have a 5 kilowatt inverter and a 5 kilowatt allowance to export, that means it limits our production to 5 kilowatts. Now, as mentioned in previous videos, our battery and our inverter are DC coupled, or our panels are DC coupled, I think is probably the better term to say. That means that if my car's on charge, for example, at 5 kilowatts an hour, the battery's say 50% full and the solar panels are producing 8 kilowatts, the system being DC coupled allows the battery to charge up straight from the solar panels, and then once the battery is full, it just cuts production from 8 kilowatts down to 5 kilowatts, because that's the limit of the inverter. So the inverter will never allow a piece of equipment such as the dishwasher, kettle, car to use more than 5 kilowatts, but we can use excess of 5 kilowatts to store the energy in the battery. Hard to explain. I think I've got it right, but that's kind of a reason I went for this system. But in future, I would match my panels probably, or my panels production, to the inverter size. I think that's doable, and yeah, I wish I'd have done that. Now, the reason I'm not doing that is a new inverter's circa say £1,500–1,600, then it needs installing, so we're probably at £2,000. Then, because I've only got approval for 5 kilowatts exporting from the DNO, I then need to up that approval to 8 kilowatts. But the problem with that is, I think the DNO charged £370 last time, so I'm probably going to have to pay that again. So for £2,500, is it really worth it to gain 3 kilowatts? I don't know. I haven't done the sums, but for me, it's not money I want to spend. What I would say is, I am very happy with 5 kilowatts. It generally does us, you know, when the washer's on, dryer's on, dishwasher, and generally covers our sort of demands. The only thing it doesn't cover is obviously the car. Generally, car chargers are 7 kilowatts, so we're 2 kilowatts short. And how my system works is it doesn't let me limit the car to 5 kilowatts. I have to buy in at 2 kilowatts to make up to the 7. And then the other thing is, we're wasting, obviously. We could be exporting an extra 3 kilowatts, but it's not the end of the world. 5 kilowatts is kind of, I'd say, the minimum for our household. So I think generally I don't want to talk negative on sort of the Solaredge because I think it's a brilliant system. Would I have Solaredge again? Yes, absolutely. I probably wouldn't choose anything else. It was the system that for me had the best safety features at the time. So we have Solaredge optimizers on every single panel, so should there be any issues we can limit the voltage, I believe, down to 1 volt, make the system safer. If the inverter is not talking to the panels as well, I think it goes into a safe mode, which I like that. I like the warranties that came with it. I can't remember off the top of my head what they were, but they were, you know, upwards of 15 years with the option to expand that to 20 or 25 years for a small fee, which I think is brilliant, considering how I work payback out is as long as it's less than the warranty period, it's a bit of a win-win, because if things break, you're not paying for it. So yeah, overall, very impressed with Solaredge. I think it's a really good quality system, and now they've done upgraded the app, it's a lot better, more control for the user. The only thing probably additional I'd like, which we don't have, is the home interface backup system, which would, in the period of, say, an outage, power outage, the battery could support the house. Now, I'm not going to have that for a number of reasons. Firstly, we don't really have many power outages. I think I can recall 2 in the last 5 years, and it would also mean that we need to upgrade our inverter. Again, as I've said before, it's not really a cost that I want, but it's all things, if we were to move house and have another new system, I would consider all this with that. So that's that. Production, how is it done? So over the last 2 years, I've compared all the figures to kind of the yearly production, what we've used, what we've exported, and for both years they're very similar. So I've kind of concentrated on the more recent last 12 months, from August 24 back to August 23. So the average production for our system is 5,500 kilowatts per year. Divide that by a daily rate, and we're averaging about 15 kilowatts a day. Now, for us on our house without the electric car, we use about 16 kilowatts, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think we probably use more electricity because we have solar, so I think it'd be reasonable for anyone without solar to say, you know, somewhere around the 10 kilowatts a day, maybe 12, 13. But it's very easy for you to work that out from your electricity bills, to give you an idea. So hopefully, from what I've said so far, being an 8 kilowatt peak system, that's kind of what we're producing, and help you size something for what you would require. Now, although we've produced 5,500 kilowatts, we've actually only used 62% of that 5,500 kilowatts, and there's various reasons for that, and that can be, you know, you're on holiday, you're, you know, charging the car at night or charging your battery. These, you know, you can't really use 100% of it all the time. It'd be nice if you could, but without having masses of batteries and an unnecessary cost, then yeah, it's very hard to do. So we've used about 62%. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we get a better rate exporting our power. It's nearly double what we buy the power in for overnight. The 48%, sorry, the 38% that we're not using or we're not able to use gets exported. So it's not the end of the world. We're actually getting paid then for exporting it to support the grid. So I've got a few figures, and I'm going to grab my bit of a crib sheet because there's a lot of figures to go through, and I'll take you through kind of what we paid for electricity over the last 12 months. I've got my sheet of paper, and apologies if I'm looking down, but too many figures for my head. So the last 12 months we paid £829 for electricity. Now, don't get me wrong, that sounds a lot, but as I mentioned earlier, we changed our approach with things. So I've obviously got an electric car that I've mentioned, and I've done 19,314 miles in that time, over the last 12 months in it. Now, because we changed his approach. We were charging up overnight. We're obviously buying electricity in at 7p. So that £830 is not actually true, because we exported £341 of electricity back to the grid, and we were paid for that, and we're paid for that on a monthly basis as part of our billing for our electricity. Now, when you consider I've ran our house, I've done 19,300 mile in a year, our net cost for electricity is £487, so £40 a month for electricity, and to do circa 1600 miles a month, maybe a bit more than that in the car. Now that to me is bonkers. It averages sort of about 4p a kilowatt is what we're paying. Now, to touch on the price per kilowatt, now I'm not overly up on what, if you like, when you're not on a special tariff, how much that is. So I based my figures on 24p a kilowatt because that's what the price cap were. I did have a quick look and it was saying about 22p, but again, as of today, that's gone back up. So I've estimated that this system, running it how we've ran it for the last 12 months and how we're going to run it for hopefully the next 12 months and beyond, because we've got into a nice rhythm, is that we're saving somewhere in the region of £1,950 to £2,050 per year on electricity. Now, we paid for our system. I had to look back at the video I did on how much did the system cost, and it was around 18,500. So giving us a payback of 9 to 10 years. Now for me, that's brilliant. We're not taking into consideration any house prices, which I'll touch on, but that is less than what the warranty periods are on the equipment we've got. So for me, that's the positive and gives me the nod to go for it. Now, house prices, in my opinion, and I'm not saying this is true, but I think if you had two houses side by side, one had solar panels, one didn't, one had a home battery, one didn't, that house is worth more. It has more added value, and you could probably hide £10,000 in the house price. How true that is, I'm not sure, but that is my opinion on it. And I think that even at 9 to 10 years payback, without sort of taking that into account, we're on to a pretty good winner there. So yeah, for me, our situation, it's a no-brainer to have solar panels and a home battery, and pretty much what we've got, with a few changes if we were going to do it again. Now, if we moved house, it would be one of the first things we get done is have this again, because I think it's just a good option to take you away from reliance on others. Now, I know not everyone has an electric car, so I've done the sums and it was a nightmare. It's hard to work out because the tariffs, if you don't have an electric car and you don't have a home battery, are very different to if you do have an electric car and a battery. So I've done the sums and I think they are very accurate. Now we'll go through them. So without having an electric car but you have solar panels, I have estimated that we would import per year £185 of electricity. But because we would have so much excess, because we're not using it, we're not putting it in a car or anything like that, we would export nearly £300. That would give you a yearly net sort of credit of £108 per year. So you won't pay anything for your electricity, and you would get £110-ish back per year for having this side system in my situation, based on the tariffs, comparing a normal electricity tariff. That'd give you a payback of about 12 years. I don't think that's bad. It's still within the warranty periods, but probably pushing the limits. I think for me, anything above 15 years, I'd be starting to say it's not worth it. However, I like the cash flow of having freed up money per month. The differences between having solar panels with an electric car and not, but hopefully I can give you a rough impression. Now, overall, for me, as I've said a few times, it's an absolute no-brainer. I personally think they don't look bad, which aesthetics could be a thing. And yeah, it's been a while since I've been wanting to do this video for quite a while, and getting time to do it. I have a little boy, we're still renovating the house, so having time to put this together, but I just want to give some facts out, very neutral facts, a few opinions in there, but hopefully it helps the decision making. I know a lot of people that are on the fence of, you know, whether to have them or not. It's a huge outlay for anyone, and for me, it has paid off. We went through, we did it right at the start of when things were really uncertain and prices just shot through the roof. They've now settled down a bit. I've just seen this morning that they're going back up a touch, but not much, and I don't think it'll be anything like what we've seen before. But yeah, for us it's a no-brainer. So I do hope this video's helped. I want to be clear and I want to be factual, so it's took me a long time to work everything out and put it into a form that I can share it on a video quite easily. So yeah, if you do have any questions, just pop them down below. I always try and get back to the comment section and answer as clearly as I can. So yeah, please do ask, and please make sure you subscribe, because although videos won't be as regular, I will try and keep you updated on things such as this and how the renovation's going. So thank you for watching, and hope I'll see you in another one very soon. Cheers.